Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crowley. I'm back with another How to Draw video. Today we're going to be learning how to draw a Chibi Goth character, which is, let's face it, a kind of a weird topic. But once it popped into my head, I was like, I gotta do it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the basic guidelines here so that we can have some time later on to focus more on the shading, the details, the toning, the polishing, all that kind of stuff. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, well that's rather a lot of guidelines, but like I said, I did want to sort of save time for doing other stuff later in the video. Just a little word on the size of the different parts for proportion purposes. This is a little under 2 inches tall, the whole area of the head. And then from side to side, the hair at its widest, also just under 2 inches. So not to say that you want to do this, you could make it 3 inches top to bottom, 4 inches. You could make it 1 mile. From top to bottom, if you like. But anyway, to give you some guideline on the size of the body here, in this case it's over 2 inches, coming up on 2.5 inches, I'd say, maybe 2.25 inches, to help you out with that. Anyway, let's go ahead and start getting onto the details of drawing the clothing, which is kind of the fun part. I'm going to add this sort of collar. Although when I was doing this, and I really want to sort of say, you know, I'm not an expert on what differentiates goth from emo and from, you know, punk and different stuff like that. So forgive me if I get things wrong here. But using goth as a keyword, I was looking at photos and so forth. And some of the goth guys in these pictures would have some sort of collar or something around the neck. This shirt, this sort of sleeveless shirt, is going to end up having a mesh pattern on it, but I may wait and do a detail like that later on. But what I will do is give him a sort of a chain here, and I thought at the end of the chain we would have the sort of skull, the shape of a skull head. Those of you who know Brody's Ghost know that I love adding a skull, like on Talia's hair. She has a little skull thing. And then I thought I would also make little rips. You know, that sort of adds to that feeling of rebellion. I don't take care of my clothes. I let them tear. In fact, sometimes I deliberately tear holes in them, just because I'm angry. And then over here, I'm going to put some kind of an armband up here at the top, just to sort of give some variety so it's not perfectly symmetrical. And over here we're going to see, and this is a bit of a mystery to me, the purpose of these, apart from just looking cool, these kind of forearm type gloves, kind of half gloves. They don't actually reach all the way through to the fingers, but they cover almost the entire foreground area. And I'm going to put a couple of straps here that sort of come off like they could almost be buckled on the other side there. And go ahead and do the same thing on this side. And I'm going to add a belt here. Let's get a belt buckle before I draw the actual belt. I'm just going to make it a simple buckle. And have it kind of diagonal, like he's not actually using it to hold his pants up. Again, these are fashion statements, I think, people. More than utilitarian choices. But I'm going to make, I'm actually going to make a real belt here that matches the collar, and that is to, you know, putting these sort of round studs in here. So we got the neck collar. Again, I always think of that as sort of like a punk thing. And then I'm going to add just a couple of random straps here across the thighs. I saw plenty of that, again, as I said, when I looked at photos. Of course, these were not Chibi photos. They were photos of actual, models or people who have adopted the so-called emo style. Now I'm going to give a pair of boots down here that sort of matches these forearm things in terms of having straps across them and little, I don't know what you call this, little sort of excess thing that comes off of the strap. Is there a word for that? Let me know, guys. I don't think I have to be ashamed of not knowing the word for that. I mean, come on, man, that's pretty obscure. Gosh. And then finally down here, the boot, I noticed a lot of these boots that have, I wouldn't call them high heels, it's like the whole sole of the shoe is quite thick, lifting the guy off the ground, not just in the heel area, but the front as well. So I see a lot of that. Not just for male characters, but female characters. In fact, I think when I draw Talia for Brody's Ghost again, I give her a kind of very thick sole like that. Now I'm going to add a bit of bunching up here of the cloth, but I know later on he's going to be colored in quite darkly, and so I don't think I have to worry too much about details. Let me start to refine the hair here. Now I noticed in a lot of these photos that these guys had the hair parted down the center. Quite a number of them, so I decided to adopt that as this character. But the hair tend, for a real emo look, such as I understand it, the parted down the center hair seemed very often to lay very flat on the head. So I'm making a series of lines that show, strands of hair that are just sort of pointing straight down pretty much as they come across the head. And that may bring us to the point where I can start to do some of the line work. Although I feel like I should maybe add a touch more definition to the eyes. Yeah, let me go ahead and I'm going to put a highlight, a small highlight, on each iris. And then this central area here that I'm kind of penciling in here will eventually be the pupil, very dark. I'm going to get one line in here that is the fold of the upper eyelid. He's really starting to look annoyed now. You draw me as a chibi? I, who want to look cool? I thought actually part of what appealed to me about this is that, the goth look is so dark and kind of tough looking, but then to do a chibi version of it, there's an interesting contrast there. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a suggestion, not a suggestion, an indication. An indication of mascara. Saw some of these models quite dark mascara on. And again, the hair is long, so that it becomes a sort of a challenge as to whether this begins to look like a female character. And if so, so be it. That's just the way it goes, people. Because indeed, there's when you draw a character with heavy mascara and long hair, invariably some people may misread that as a female character, whether that is justified or not. But I'm going to go ahead and do the final line work. I guess the main thing that you're going to see me do, most of this is just, you would call it kind of inking, where I go over what's already there with the trusty black Prismacolor. But the one thing I will do, just kind of with final line work, is to do that mesh pattern. So keep an eye out for that. But let's go ahead and do this in time-lapse, and then we'll be back to hopefully have plenty of time left for doing a bit of shading and toning. Alright, so we've got all of those more or less final guidelines in place, and I am going to pull out a marker. This is a very dark gray. Now, everyone knows that a goth's favorite color is black. Unfortunately, if you color this all in with black, it's going to obscure all the details, all the line work that you made. So instead, I am going to use kind of a dark gray here. I'll do most of this in real time. I think maybe toward the end, I may tighten things up a little in time-lapse. We'll see how that goes. But I'm putting down a initial layer here of a simple gray, trying my best to do it all in a single stroke or two, not going over and over the same area. Now I'm using this sort of chisel point here, which is a bit awkward. Also, as you know, I can't turn my page, so I'm going against the natural pivot point of my wrist here, and it's less than ideal in terms of, you know, smoothness of motion as I darken this end. But we're past the worst of it now, I guess, in terms of what I needed to do there. But the reason I'm putting down an initial layer is I want to create an illusion of a highlight here in the hair across the upper edge of it, right across here, which is where I normally see these highlights indicated. And so by putting down a first layer that's not super dark, I can go on top of that. And so what I'm going to do is sort of make a gently curved line here across the upper regions, and go ahead and continue darkening that in. Now, I'm not a huge expert on markers. That's why I don't use them too often, and I've had a lot of requests for that, and I may someday soon invest in one of these, you know, huge marker sets so as to start doing tutorials for markers. Can you hear that sound? That is the garbage truck, people. Yes, my exciting life. The garbage truck coming through my neighborhood to interrupt my YouTube video. Oh, man. Anyway, I'm going to finish. Now, you can see I sort of got distracted by my own idiotic comments, but what we have here is a second dark area on the lower section, and by leaving that first area lighter, then you get the sort of illusion of shiny hair, the classic highlight. Hence the term highlight. And now I am going to switch away from this chisel point and go on to the finer tip for doing the other stuff. Such as this area between the sort of studs of the collar there. I'm going to go ahead and do a single layer here of dark gray across the, what are these called? Forearm gloves. The classic forearm gloves. And then I think with just a single movement, again, I'm going to sort of try to create a single layer of tone here that I can later differentiate. How about if I do this? I'll do this in kind of two halves here, because you're going to have some repetition between the gloves and so forth. And I'll do that part in time-lapse, but I'll do all of this over here real time. So having put in this one layer of color, then I can kind of make some choices about which is going to be darker. Let's say that I decide the pants are going to be the darker area. Then I can go into that, and I'm even trying to create a highlight area there. I don't know if that's showing up on the left-hand side. But mainly what I want to do is differentiate between the pants and these belts that are coming on top. I don't want everything to be exactly the same color. And I'll probably tighten that up a little when I come back to do my colored pencil work at the end to add a little extra shading. But I'm doing the same thing over here on these gloves. For whatever reason, I have decided the bands, the straps here, are a lighter color. And I may flip that around. I think I will, in fact, flip that around on the boots. Because I'm just that kind of crazy guy. Reversing the color scheme. Why did I do that? Well, I was thinking if I've got the pants really dark here, I want contrast with the boots. So in this case, the boots become lighter and the straps become darker. It's just so crazy it might work. And that basically gets you to the point where we are ready to finish off the markering in time-lapse on the other side of the figure. And then we can come back to start tightening things up. Oh, I didn't do the eyes. Let's see if I can do that. I'm going to sort of just do one little sweep of the marker there for the eyes. I don't want to darken that in anymore. There's going to be a lot of, like I said, added shading toward the end with my black Prismacolor. So anyway, let's go ahead and finish this area off in time-lapse. Alright, so I decided before going in with the black Prismacolor, I'm going to do a little bit of shading with just a Dixon Ticonderoga here. Get some shading going, you know, against the cheek, sort of a drop shadow that comes from the hair. And I figure this character could probably use just a little bit of modeling here. Modeling? Does that work? Shading, adding a little tone here on the right-hand cheek so as to make it look more rounded. I am not going to draw blushies, people. I'm pretty sure goth characters don't like to have blushies. Correct me if I'm wrong. There will be an uprising. There are warring factions among my viewers. Some who want blushies everywhere. And some who are like, enough with the blushies already. Me, I'm sort of between the two extremes. But I'm getting a drop shadow here underneath the chin. Just basically adding a bit of shade all the way around to make this character seem a little more three-dimensional. But I think I am going to use the black Prismacolor for adding shade to the areas that are already dark, because you really need to get quite intense. And I don't think this pencil, which is, you know, pretty much just an ordinary number 2 pencil, would be quite dark enough to add shading to these dark marker areas. And I think that gets us to where it is finally time to pull out this trusty black Prismacolor. And the main thing I want to begin with is doing some shading on the hair, adding just a little more depth to it by selecting areas for additional darkness. And especially these strands back here, I think, can use quite a lot of darkness. You could even just go completely jet black, I think, on some of this. And maybe just a few more little areas of shade here. I feel like I would just want to go in with this mascara. We're committing to this, man. I'm gonna have him own it. When I put the mascara on, I don't do it halfway. So we're darkening in extra areas here, and as I did with the hair, so I shall do with the clothing areas down here. So mainly in the darker areas, I'm adding a sort of a steady area of extra shade right along the right-hand side. Now, I'm not having it close all the way in against the right-hand line. I'm leaving just a little gap there, and that may create the illusion of reflected light, which will make the pants look leathery, which I'm pretty sure goth people enjoy wearing. Let me know about that. Maybe they're against leather. I could learn a lot reading the comments section of this video. Never was completely clear on what the differences are there between goth and emo. Please educate me. And we're darkening in just a little here. Again, I wanted these things to remain contrasted against the blackness of the pants. And we're getting down towards the end of things. I think this video may be, in terms of proportion of time devoted, one of my most shading-oriented videos. I think we did almost all of the shading real time. Can you believe it? Will wonders never cease? Crilly did a video in which he didn't time-lapse through the shading? Ah! Uncork the champagne, people! He did it! It does seem like after like 200 videos, this is the first time I've finally done a shading thing without time-lapse. It hardly seems possible. I'm getting emotional, people. I just am. Thank you for being here with me on this special day. Anyway, this kind of brings this to an end, and here I am without my books ready to grab and pull out and hype at the end of my video. Forgive me while I hit the pause button just so I can go grab those books. All right, well, I'm back with my books. Let's just do this as quickly as possible. Brody's Ghost, Book 4, finally out and in stores. Miki Falls, 4 books in that series. And, of course, Mastering Manga, my How to Draw book. I really do appreciate people who buy these books. It means a lot. It helps me out quite directly when you do that for me. But let's go ahead and lay down this pencil that I just picked up so that I could lay it down. I want to thank you for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.